On April 25th, 1944, my grandfather was on his fifth mission over Berlin to deliver incinerator bombs. As they flew over the city, they realized that planes were heading in their direction. After a few more minutes, two of my grandfather's engines were shot down, and he was given instructions to flee the formation and flee his plane. After giving his instructions to his 7 crew members, he watched as each one fell to the ground, leaving him the last man to jump. As he jumped, only seconds passed before his plane obliterated and shrapnel fell all to the ground. As he fell, over 100 pieces of shrapnel entered his body, and he knew he was bleeding to death. After gliding closer to the road, he hoped someone would find him. Only a few minutes passed before 2 Polish men drove down the road to find my grandfather laying on the side of the road bleeding. They picked him up and took him into a cabin in the woods. They called the Germans and they picked him up, taking him to a hospital that was run by the British. While he was there, they interrogated him in that land for a whole month. His story continued with him being transported on a railway car for 3 days and the trials they encountered with hanging blankets on the rafters and taking turns standing and sitting while the grime on the side of the cars fell on them. He learned at this time not to take anything for granted. He was alive and believed God was with him always. My grandfather Robert was in 2 different prison camps, Stulof 1 and 3, and kept a journal while he was there and read every book he could get his hands on. During his imprisonment, he described the people that he came in contact with and the Germans in the camp. He also told about his friends that died in front of him that he would never again see. He would never lose hope, though, that the war would soon be over, and he kept a strong faith that he was determined to get home to see his family soon. As the war came to an end, my grandfather tells of waking up one morning and just finding the camp empty of the Germans. No guards, and the gates were wide open. Rifles were on the ground, and nobody was there. It was a quiet, empty feeling. The POWs were realizing what happened and were shouting and celebrating when they heard the Russians were on their way to liberate them. So the German records were retrieved from the filing cabinets in the office, and everyone proceeded to shower and celebrate. After, they went to town for a little R&R. It wasn't until many years later he would share his story with me and his family, and that I learned about myself in the process. It was from my grandfather that I learned my strength and perseverance. I thought that if he could do it and remain strong, then I am capable of anything and everything in this world. He was a quiet man, but strict and stern, and expected others to follow his rules, as he had in the war, to keep him alive. He raised a beautiful garden and had the necessary food to provide for us and the rest of his family. I learned to appreciate all that I had, and raised a garden later in life to provide for my family as he did for his friends in the war. He was a good man, a husband, a father, a grandfather. He was all around perfect. He was a strong man, and he was a great family man. Many people will never know him, will never know his name or what he did in life, but I do. He is inspiration and my motivation to do whatever I can in this world. He was not only a survivor, but he is a hero. He's my hero and will forever remain that way.